Flamingo chef, show us what you got, with cocktails and dishes that hit the sweet spot.
Hi guys, Bill the Kansas Flamingo chef. Merry Christmas, happy holidays, whatever you say. I say Merry Christmas. We're coming up on Christmas, only a couple weeks away. And you might be doing some entertaining. You know, I spent a lot of my life working in the restaurant business in upscale restaurants. And one of the things that has always fascinated me when I go to people's dinner parties is how there's such a confusion about how to set a table. So what I want to talk about today are some different methods of table setting that are very traditional that you can use for your holiday gatherings. First of all, we got to think about dinnerware. Now, you can use whatever table setting you want. I'm just going to use this because I want to keep this Christmassy. But if I'm setting to impress for my guests, I want to have a plate already on the table. It just gives a better presentation. Now, you can use a larger base plate if you'd like and serve onto that. This is what I call a removal plate. It's sitting there just to mark a position at the table. So we're going to start with that, and then we're going to add a napkin. Napkin folds. You know, in the 80s, this was the deal. In the 90s as well, and even in the early 2000s. And it's kind of lost some traction over the last few years as we've gotten to be less and less formal in dining. But I think it adds an element of flair. So you can go with something as simple as just a plain old napkin laying on their plate. It's kind of boring, but it'll save you a little time. Or you can go into napkin folds. Now, the simplest napkin fold out there is the traditional tint. It just looks like that, sitting on the plate when your guests arrive. I'm going to show you how to do every one of these in a different video, but I just want you to see what they look like. That's a traditional tint. This one is one of the most complicated that I do. This is a rose. I think it's a really pretty setting, but it has to be for the right occasion. Doesn't really fit Christmas as well unless you've got a rose theme going on. Great for Valentine's Day. This is called the Bishop's Crown. It's not a very difficult fold, but it has a very interesting look sitting on your plate. My favorites, also one of the easiest folds out there is the old seashell. The fan has a nice look. It's very simple. You can do a bunch of these really fast. And then if you want a little more Christmas look to your table, you can go with something a little less traditional. This is an elf boot. Notice it looks like a little elf boot. And I think they're fun, and they look really cool on a table. For this specific setting, though, with this tree design on my plate, I think a Christmas tree gives it a little more flair. Now, there's a couple of traditional Christmas tree folds. This one's called an upward fold, and it's easier to open it up and stand. And this is a downward or tuck fold. I like the look of these better. And with this particular plate, I would probably set it like that, just because it continues that pattern. Man, there's a lot of that stuff, right? You got to know what you need and what to use for your particular dining that you've got going on. If you're going to have a thick meat, like a steak, pork, even grilled chicken, you're going to want a cutting knife. So this is my steak knife. You'll always serve with a butter knife. You're always going to serve with a dinner fork and a starter or salad fork. Notice they are different sizes. Drives me crazy when I go to a restaurant and they give me 2 dinner forks. I want a salad fork. A dessert fork is the same size as a salad fork. Then we have the spoons. This is a soup spoon. This is our traditional working spoon, generally for butter. An iced tea spoon and a dessert spoon. So let's set this up how it should be set. So keep in mind that this is traditional European service that was adopted in our American culture. And you always work from the outside in. So your dinner fork is going to go closest to your plate on the left side. salad fork right beside it. If we have an iced tea spoon, we're going to position that differently. Now let's go up to the other side. We're going to go with our steak knife, our cutting knife, our salad fork, and then over here, we're going to have a working spoon. Now on top, it's going to depend on what your other service is. Now, if they have iced tea, if we know we're having iced tea, you're going to put it on this side, unless your setting is too close, in which place it would go here. I don't like that style of service. I've always found it very intrusive, so I'm more apt to put it here. But again, you only even bring this spoon out if your guest is having iced tea and probably going to use sugar. So these other three are very much the same. The soup spoon, if we know we're having a soup course, it's going here, right? If we're having a dessert that requires a fork, then it's going to go this way. If you're having a dessert that requires a spoon, it would go that way. Generally speaking, you're not going to have all of these. You're only going to have the ones you want. So if we're not doing a soup and our dessert is not needing a spoon, that's your most common setting. Glassware. And I got a little tequila. This gets intense. All right. Holiday dining generally has wine involved. I mentioned iced tea earlier, so I've got an iced tea glass. So here's how your glassware is set up. This is champagne. We're going to get that out of the way for the moment. Red wine and white wine. So we're going to start with the glass we're going to reach for first. Sorry that the camera just moved. The cat decided to move the camera. Since your guest is going to have a drink in hand, this will wind up getting set down on the table wherever they're comfortable. So we're not going to worry about that right now. We're going to look at how the setting goes. The water glass goes above the spoon in line with the butter knife. An iced tea glass would go at 45 degrees below that in line with the top of the spoon. The white wine glass goes directly above and slightly adjacent to the water glass. The red wine glass comes down just above the white wine glass in line with the base of the dessert fork. If we're having a champagne course, it's going to depend on when you're going to serve the champagne. But generally, I like to set it at the center of my dessert fork. Now, your guest, depending on how they predominantly drink, right or left-handed, has the opportunity to set this glass at the end of the line or on the other side. Either one's fine. If you have a bread and butter plate, generally it's going to set right here. I know it's a lot, but keep in mind, all of these are depending on what you're serving. Let's say you're not serving white wine. You're not serving champagne. And you're not serving iced tea unless somebody specifically asks for it. Your setting is going to look like that. That's really all there is to it. It's not as complicated as it sounds, but doing this will have such a profound impact on your guests. It makes the meal even better because we eat with our eyes. Until next time, eat fabulous. I'm going to show you how to fold these napkins, and we're going to make some more food. Cheers. Like, share, and subscribe.
In the heart of Kansas, under sky so clear, lives a chef with a flair, bringing folks some cheer. With a pinch of love and a dash of zest, he's the Kansas Flamingo, and his meals are the best.